interested in immediately coming to concessions, immediately making concessions, immediately, uh, like at least one person in the American government it would be very nice if I had one guy be like, hey, we should maybe fucking put an end to this. Like, people are senselessly being fucking butchered. Okay? And then the answer always is fuck no. Ukrainians don't want that. And also that's not actually good for America's interests. They never really admit that, except for right here when Representative Seth Moulton from Massachusetts did admit that. Let's hear it. Let's hear what he had to say about this.
I only have 10 seconds left for each of you, if you could. But if they wrap this in the Senate, you guys okay with that, Congressman Moulton?
Look, I'm going to support it because it's the right thing to do for Ukraine. I mean, obviously, there's...
Putting an end to this means Ukraine loses. Brother, it's war. It's like a fight, okay? Think about it at the human level. Okay? At the human level, what do I always say? Even if you get in a fight, you lose regardless. Even if you win the fight, you still lose. There is no circumstance in which, like, Ukraine is like winning the fucking war. Like, it's about mitigating and minimizing the casualties. Ukraine loses more if war fucking continues. If the original 15-point negotiations that Zelensky put forward with Vladimir Putin like a month and a half ago were to be followed through on, that would have been a great fucking conditional surrender. It would have been dope. He literally didn't even have to talk about Crimea. He was just like, yeah, we'll push that 15 years into the future. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. You know what I mean? It was effective. It was smart. And of course, that didn't happen. And in that circumstance, the UK straight up fucking told them. Now this article is available in English. Possibility of talks between Zelensky and Putin came to a halt after Johnson's visits. UP sources. I mean, look, the timing of it matches. Okay, the timing of it matches. And ultimately, Hassan is living in a fairy tale law. Thank you. That's really good commentary on the matter. The timing of that matches, but also it works. It works for the West. They keep giving weapons. They keep making more weapons. They keep selling more weapons. They keep giving the loans to sell more weapons. And it's better for the UK and America to continue providing weapons to Ukraine than to have any kind of interest. And for people who are saying Putin is not to be trusted, I agree. You're 100% correct. I fear the stalemate would be short-lived. Okay. But there's already an international sanctions. There are already international sanctions on Russia. Russia rearming itself in that situation is less likely than Ukraine getting fucking time to arm itself. Ukraine will favor that stalemate moment to fucking re-up. So not trying that and not exhausting that, in my opinion, has always been incredibly silly. And if I dare say so myself, outright brutal. Like, people keep saying like, oh man, Russia wants appeasement, but they're going to come back. It's like, what army, bro? They suck. Bro, when they took down Moscow with a drone, I was like, all right, that's it. I mean, that's a wrap. It's like, it's insane. Like, that doesn't happen. All these generals fucking dying. That's one thing, right? I mean, obviously they have a different way of waging war than the way we wage war, right? In America. But like, they took down the Moskva. Like, that's huge. That's a major fucking dub for Ukraine. Ukraine has the upper hand in the situation to force like conditional surrender on the best possible terms. But I think that like Western leaders, and once again, people might get mad at me for this, but I do think that Western leaders believe that because Russia is on the back pedal, or Russia is doing worse overall, than prior projections, even in the eastern and southern territories. That this is a great opportunity to exhaust their military further by throwing Ukrainian bodies at the problem. And don't ask me how I know that or where I'm coming from, because this was my original assessment and people got mad at me for saying this. However,
you guys okay with that, Congressman Moulton?
Look, I'm going to support it because it's the right thing to do for Ukraine. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of politics involved, and there will be domestic debates here at home about other policies and whatnot. But at the end of the day, we've got to realize we're at war. And we're not just at war to support the Ukrainians. We're fundamentally at war, although it's somewhat through a proxy, with Russia, and it's important that we win.
Congressman Turner? All right, I only have 10 seconds left for each of you, if you could.
there it is. Like, and now, if you don't have insurance and you want to get tested, shit's going to cost you. I mean, it started already, and that sucks. But Republicans are just, running a campaign of pure fucking spite and insanity. So, once again, they're like, absolutely not. We're not giving. My complaint is that they could have linked it to other more important shit, but it was turned down in committee by moderate Dems. Well, the reason why they're tying it to this is because $33 billion to the military-industrial complex is a subsidy, okay? Like, yeah, sure, Ukrainians need those guns, and yes, they desperately want those guns, and that's great, but, like, let's be real, that's a subsidy. That's, before Ukraine happened, that was a subsidy to the military-industrial complex that was always going to pass with bipartisan support, overwhelming bipartisan support. After Ukraine is done, there is going to still be plenty of $30 billion bills like that is going to be a subsidy to the military-industrial complex. That's a giveaway. Like, that's the one package that gets passed in America. Back in the day, at least we had infrastructure packages that would get passed with like a little bit of bipartisan support. We don't even have that anymore. Look at Build Back Better. Yeah, I mean, people are not even taking the fucking booster, brother. What the fuck? So yeah, that's where we're at with Ukraine. That's where we're at with Ukraine. I mean, American leadership is like openly admitting it on Fox News. This doesn't count as sleepwalking in the war anymore, says Ryan. Pausing to add, as an afterthought, someone through a proxy is the most demeaning and imperial way a superpower rep knows how to talk about a client, followed quickly by paeans to Ukrainian sovereignty, of course. Also, if anyone's going to say fucking Ryan Grimm, of all goddamn people, is biased, literally look to any Intercept reporting on Ukraine. Intercept's reporting on Ukraine mirrors MSNBC, like with obvious exceptions like this. So, don't immediately and snarkily be like, fuck you. Okay? Might be the first time in a while the subsidy weapons aren't used on enemy armies and not military-age males. What do you mean? Russia started the war? Pepega? I mean, yes. I don't think anyone is saying the opposite of that. You have to search far and fucking wide, dude. Every person that has had a different perspective than that is literally banned. Not only are they banned, but like they've had their fucking PayPals removed. You know what I mean? Like, no. Russia started the invasion. It was a fucking awful misstep. It was a horrible, horrible fucking thing that they did. Okay? Yes, NATO expansion for fucking many years is one of the reasons why they felt threatened, certainly. But the idea that they were denazifying and the best thing to do to like fucking combat NATO expansion was to legitimize NATO's expansion, not a great idea, you know what I mean? To kill a fuckload of Ukrainians and level Ukrainian cities. Wow, really cool. 5D chess move there from Vladimir strategist Putin, you know what I mean? Like, really incredible stuff. I mean, incredible, incredible stuff. Okay? Really great. It's all. If anything, the real. Okay, I've said this before, but it bears repeating. If anything, the real 5D chess move by Vladimir Putin in this situation was to literally show to the rest of the world how fucking dog shit their military is, that they can't even take over, a country that was historically, a Russian territory under their empire, under USSR or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Like, that they can't even take over Ukraine with their fucking military. It's like literally at their doorstep. So that, people should realize that Russia has no superior military power when it comes to on-the-ground, boots-on-the-ground military warfare, and therefore there's no need for NATO expansion, right? That's the real 60 chess move, is like everyone will know that Russian forces are currently laughable. I guess that's why. Except no, because Poland exists. And Poland is literally fucking got their hands on the button, waiting for any opportunity to be like, let's fight Russia, let's fight Russia, let's fight Russia. Like, if Russia didn't have nukes right now, Poland would have probably been like, we should nuke Russia, I think. This isn't about NATO. If Finland and Sweden join and nothing happens, this is about Russian Eurasianism, ethno-nationalism to build a sphere of influence. Oh, for sure. I mean, I've admitted that. Yes, of course. Russia wants to have a sphere of influence in its own like backyard. It's Russia is a regional superpower and wants to maintain that presence. Anyway, ultimately, I don't know. Nuclear war is bad. Nuclear war is terrifying. Polish people are literally foaming and hate the moment they join NATO right now. They could have marched over the border 100% if they weren't a NATO member. Bro, are you fucking kidding me? Poland would be Russia if they weren't a NATO member. Okay, so what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Poland without NATO? What are they gonna do, dude? What are they gonna play songs and dances until the Russian the forces are undermined? I mean, even without NATO guns, like, it would have the balance would be heavily way more in favor of Russia. That was like one of the assessments I originally made, was like, Ukraine will put up a fight if there is a massive occupation for many, many years. Remember the "This is the hill that I'll die on" tweet, where I said, like, it'll be virtually impossible for Russia to fucking maintain a presence in Ukraine, even with or without NATO weapons. But it certainly would have been a lot easier, and they would not be in this situation right now if it wasn't for fucking NATO weapons. Anyway. So, what do you think? What a weird take. What do you think Poland is like right now? I mean, I think, like, I don't know about the Polish military conquest, is all I'm going to say, especially without, like, NATO training and NATO weapons. Yourself out of Poles business. I think Poland is very much happy to be a part of NATO. I think that, like, if they weren't a part of NATO, they would be in. Sounds like you think Poland is some third world country. I don't think Poland is a third world country, but I don't think it's as developed as other Western European nations. Poland is better off than Ukraine, even before the Russian invasion, but that's not really saying much, since Ukraine was devastated for many, many years. By definition, a second world country, yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's watch Vladimir Putin, who 100%, and I don't give a fuck what people say, thought that he would be able to completely fucking overtake southern Ukraine and eastern Ukraine by this point, because this was supposed to be like his signature, like, wrap it up tightly and be like, look, we killed the Nazis again moment. And that's not happening currently. I mean, yeah, they have Kherson, but ultimately, you know, they barely were able to take up the last remaining part of Mariupol, the Azovstal steel plant. So let's see.
In these days, you're fighting for our people in Donbass, for the security of our motherland, Russia. The 9th of May 1945 entered world history forever as a triumph of our unified Soviet Union, its unity and spiritual might, unprecedented feats of heroism at the front and at the home front. The day of victory is close to each of our hearts. There is no family in Russia which wasn't scorched by the Great Patriotic War. Its memory doesn't fade. Today, in the ranks of the immortal...
This motherfucker is literally an anti-USSR, anti-communist. And he has the audacity to fucking LARP and you know, celebrate the victories of the USSR against Nazis, okay? You can't on the one hand be like literally an anti-Leninist, okay? Or even shit on Lenin, which is like a big no-no. I mean, holy shit. Stalin is one thing, obviously de-Stalinization and all, but like my man has the gall to even criticize Lenin, okay? And then turn around and fucking be like, oh, yeah, it was so good when we did, you know, World War II. You know what I mean? Denazification.
Regiments, great-children and great-grandchildren of those warriors march. They carry the photographs of their forefathers who will stay forever.
NATO weapons kind of undersells just how many weapons they're getting. The U.S. is going to give $33 billion on top of everything else. The entire GDP of Ukraine in 2021 was $66 billion. Yeah, no, they're fucking pumping it. They're going to the moon, okay? I'm holding on to my Ukraine coin.
Forever young, and the veterans who are no longer with us. We are proud of the generation.
Did Russians not celebrate? No, Russians should celebrate. I mean, everyone should celebrate. The irony, of course, of the current war that's being waged right now is that Ukrainians should celebrate. You know what I mean? There are plenty of fucking Ukrainians who lost their grandparents in this, in exactly this, millions of Ukrainians. You know what I mean? Like, this is a victory day for everybody. But it's not. Because he's just kind of fucking running with it.
Of victors, and that we are